Hello everyone, let me know again if we have trouble with the issue, if we have issue with the audio, or this time I make it right. Do we have echo, delay or something that I should take care of? Good. Okay, perfect. So, what we're going to do today is to check the APU, the Ryzen G 3600G, and well, we can do some gameplay about a bit of everything, not only World of Warcraft. I have downloaded some free-to-play from Steam, and as well like Tomb Raider, Shadow of Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider. We can do everything you want. So, let's start with the BIOS. Because the first thing to do when you set up an APU system, in this case a mini ATX with a thermal take, I think is the V1, is to check the memory. Because memory is the most important thing about the APU. Because the RAM is also the RAM of the GPU, in this case an integrated GPU. So if you have slow RAM, you will have a slow GPU, slow integrated GPU. Many people still use 2400 MHz RAM with the APU, and so they have like 50% of the performance, and some people as well use only one stick of memory, and it's like, I think, 40% or less. I will show you how the performance can drop if you use only one stick of memory. Because I get that it's a budget system, and being a budget system, you don't want to put too much money in it, but if you want to play decently, you have to put some decent memory inside. So I have a 4 kit, a BDI kit inside, so you can see the full potential now. Then I can switch to a 8 GB kit, so dual channel, 4 GB each. I have a 3000 MHz C16, yes, and a 3200 MHz C15, and this kit that is very cheap and is 16 GB kit is an HyperX 3200 MHz C18 or C19, something like this. So you can see the difference with cheap memory kit and a expensive memory kit. But those are very cheap memory kit, but they can deliver nearly the performance of a good memory kit if you tune it a bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is to save this profile, because it's a profile made for BDI kit. So then we can switch the kit without losing this profile. There's not much to do in the BIOS, because I try to keep this thing simple so everyone can do it easily, especially if you don't know too much how to go into a BIOS and set the memory. In this case, this is a BDI kit, is a G-Skill Trident Z 3600 C16. So it's a BDI kit, a very good one. Now I think they don't make it anymore, but probably in eBay you can find it for $100, €100 or something like this, and it's very nice because with not too much money you have I think the best kit you can put on an APU system. My 3700X and 3800X has arrived partially. I mean, I took everything, all the models, and so they have the 3600 non-X, the 3700X, 3800X, the 3900X is having a delay, so they are blocking everything because they are waiting for that. So I'm trying to cancel that part so they can give me the other CPU, and then I will take the 3900X when it's back on stock. So I'm trying to do that to have the CPU back for next week. Yes, 3600 C16, a very nice kit. So we was like talking about the RAM and the BIOS. You can see is a 3600 kit on the here, and I set it to 3400 megahertz. Then I set the timings manually, but only the primary timings and the TRC and the T. No, I think I didn't set it. Anyway, so better. So this is very simple. So I set here 14, 14, 14, 34, 51, which is very nice. So it's a very fast timing. Usually the CPU doesn't have a good memory controller because it's the last generation memory controller, so Zen 1 and Zen Plus. So it's not the new memory controller in the 3000 series because the CPU is still 14 nanometers. So the memory controller usually let you push the memory with decent voltages up to 3400 megahertz or even a bit more, but I'm not suggesting you to do that because you risk instability, you have to push too much the voltages, having other issue. But you will see that it's pretty nice like this. This kit actually, then I take off one stick when I show you the benchmark, is a 3600 C16, but is an old one. I think is 3 years old, and at the time every kit 3600 C16 was a kit with B die. So I think now if you can find one 3600 C16 16 usually is like 99% B die. This kit on Intel can run 4 GHz C12, so it's a very nice kit. Okay, so I set the primary timing this way. Usually I can set the TRC, this one I can set it to 280, but as well you need to test stability and not every kit can do that. So the best thing you can do, and it's already low, so best thing you can do 14, 14, 14, 34, 51, 1.35 volt, and that's it. There's nothing more to do in this system. Another thing, yes, important, is to set the load line calibration. Most of the budget board doesn't have load line calibration, which is very useful for overclocking. Load line calibration keep the voltage stable. So if you have drop in the voltage of the CPU and you are overclocking it, it may crash. So with a very cheap board without load line calibration, you have to push a bit more the voltage, raising the temperature as well, to avoid that the voltage drop too much and get the system to crash. So in this case I set it to turbo or sometimes extreme, but I saw that with this CPU extreme is a bit too much because I get too much voltage. If I set 1.4 I get like 1.45, so I think 2 turbo is enough. Gigabyte have turbo, Asus have from 1 to 5 or 1 to 8, MSI have like from 1 to 9, but is at reverse, so you have to check this setting. The V-Core SoC, the SoC, the chipset, I set it to 1.175 as well because later I'm going to overclock the integrated GPU. So this is the setting I'm using for the first part of this demo, and it works well because I did some stress test for like 6 hours and it's super stable. The board is a Gigabyte AB350N. This one. Let me show you the box. This one. This is a mini ITX board. A very nice board. Is not great for big core count CPU because if you put like the 2700X and you push it like in multi-threading workload, the VRM gets very hot and they start to throttling. So it's good for like 4 cores, 6 core maximum, or for gaming, because even you can put a 2700X and gaming perfectly with this. You cannot do rendering, but I mean it's a mini ITX board, you cannot expect too much. So this is the BIOS. I'm going to restart now and start to something in Windows, so you can see with a proper memory setup how this little beast can do even in AAA game. So let's see the chat. The 3600 I have in the test bench. Then when we finish with this, we go to the 3700X and the Vega and the 5700 XT. So we can try that as well. I think we are not going to take too much time with this, and then we go to the other platform. 6 core, yes, 6 core PCCX, 12 threads. So I think if I remember correctly, you can disable one CCX, but it's like 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3. We can see that later. We can remind me in the chat, and we can see that later. So, what do you want to start? AAA game, World of Warcraft? Tell me in the chat. Because I have plenty of things here on the desktop, and we can do whatever you want. Maybe you want to see a AAA game? Wow, okay. First in, first out. World of Warcraft. Battlefield. Okay, let's start a bit with World of Warcraft, and then we can go to Battlefield. Just a second that I log in. Let me know if you can see the numbers. And now I'm going to put the numbers a bit bigger, like this. Is it big enough? Boralus. Yes, let's go to Boralus. And in the meantime that we fly, I'm going to show you a bit of the settings that I'm using. Because with the APU, you cannot push everything to 100 to quality 10. You just can't. Because as you can see now, in this part of the screen, we are already maxing out the GPU, and we are at quality 5. Usually, with this APU, at least with the last one, the 2200G, we have more or less the same settings, or slightly less. But one thing that you can do is pushing the text resolution, texture filtering a bit. It doesn't really change too much the FPS. We have 62 FPS now, and even if I push a bit the texture, it doesn't really change much. And what does change is the shadow, liquid, and yes, particle density a bit. So we can try now to put this on fair, so you can see that we gained almost 20 FPS by lowering the shadow and the liquid detail. So now we are at 75 FPS, which is great. As you can see that the CPU is not really pushing too much, even if it's only a 4 core, because we are limited by the GPU. Now probably in Boralus we will have some kind of a fight between the two. Let's go to our bot. So as you can see here, yes, we have like a tie. We are very balanced between the CPU bottleneck and the GPU bottleneck. So we have 65, 70 FPS. Now the GPU is going 85%. So now is the CPU that is struggling a bit. But I mean, we are at quality 5 with the shadow and liquid to the minimum, no, well, to fair. But we are at 64 FPS. I mean, I can play super nice like this. So well, I think the when they put the Ryzen, the Zen Plus CPU inside this APU, was very nice for World of Warcraft players, because it was mainly the CPU that was struggling, not the GPU, at least in World Quest and Dungeon. Now I think we cannot do that because it's too much, but if I do a raid, you have to lower down the GPU settings, because in raid this APU is particularly weak, even if I take everything down. And at least with the previous generation I had to put 720p the resolution in RAID because it was too weak. But I will go through these details in a proper review. Now I just want to show you some gameplay and how the memory affect this performance, because now you see everything that is very playable, everything is nice, but if I change the memory, if I put only one stick for an example, you see that you cannot play. So if you're planning to build something like this, you have to take in consideration the memory, otherwise your plan will fail. Yes, the ITX 12 help a bit, because is some kind of multi-threading. As you can see here, we have mostly one thread, in this case the CPU 4, that is very stressed, and the other one they are 50%, 30%. So, well, the 3200G is for a very cheap build. It's like $90, 90 euro, and you put some 8GB kit like this, which is now 60, 70, a cheap motherboard, and with $400 you have a system that let you play. I mean, it's not, you can play at quality 10 or with big FPS, but if you're on a budget, this is a very nice build. And I mean, if you play like once a week and you don't want to invest money in a PC because you have other passions, why not? You can play. I mean, I did a lot of levels when I was raising this this character, and I was playing very nice. I mean, you have to set your expectation to the quality and the frame rate, but anyway, okay, let's park this for a bit and I show you a AAA game, so then I can switch the memory and you can see the difference. I think I close afterburner. Let me reset. Let me restart. I read the chat. Yes, I mean, if you depends on the strategy of your build. I mean, if you don't have a PC right now and you are on a very tight budget, you can put this one inside without a GPU and spend like $400 or $450, something like this. And then the next step, when you have some kind of money, you can buy this one. Is a RX 570. You can find it for cheap, even used on eBay. And you put this one into the system, and then you can play very nice. And then one day, when the Ryzen 3 came out, you can buy a Ryzen 2 for cheap, and then you have a perfectly capable system. And then you switch components piece by piece, and then you can spend. You can have even an entry-level price which is very low, and then you can upgrade your system step by step. If you have like 1,000 to spend, you can directly go with a Zen 2 and maybe a Navi, some very nice GPU. But in this case, if you're on a budget, this is a good start. I tested already something like the Pentium G and the NVIDIA, with the low-level NVIDIA, but I mean, knowing that Intel changed socket too much for my taste, and AMD you have a system that is much more future-proof. So, okay, let's try. What about Battlefield? I think Battlefield will suffer a lot I think I tried, but I wasn't able to play, I think. I have to... Anyway, I show you Rise of the Tomb Raider just, because then I think it's not a good idea to play Battlefield on this on this APU. It will probably will run at like 20 FPS. It's very thread hungry, and so medium, preset medium. So just I put the medium preset, nothing added. Let's say okay. I keep this full screen. All right. Now you'll be surprised that at medium quality you can play. The newest Tomb Raider, the Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you have to play at low. Now I can show you. But this one you can play at medium, and it's decent. I think we lost the signal. Why is that? Okay, we are back. Yes, there's a software that came with the extreme overclocking package of the motherboard. I have that software. If you want to see that with the 3600X, then we can do a test. You can overclock the single CCX. So yes, it's a software. It's like a Ryzen Master, but very simplified. It's for extreme overclocking. I will show you that software in the other build with the 3600X. No, the software works even on the X470. Anyway, so we have 32 FPS. Okay, the GPU is at the limit. The CPU is fine. Let's see if I remember again playing. I mean, it's not super smooth, but we have 27 FPS, 30 FPS. Plus with the blur, the technology, you doesn't really feel that 27, 30 FPS. You can play. I mean, for a, what is it, $95 CPU is outstanding, because I can play, probably it's like console level, slightly less, but we are 32 FPS, medium detail. And medium detail, honestly, is not too bad. Ooh, miss it. Being a super cheap system is nice. So, now we do the same thing with only one stick of memory, and you will see a difference, because many people say, okay, I buy only one stick and then I add another when I have money, or I just put one stick because it's cheap. You will see how it is to play with only one stick, so in single channel. Okay, so now I can show you as well the memory kit. Yes, if you can see it. No, you cannot see. Anyway, it's a Trident Z 3600 C16D. 16, 16, 16, 36, 1.35 volt. A nice kit. Maybe you can find it used for 100 or 90. If you do, buy it, because with this you can go into the Zen 2 in the 3600X and set it to 3700, 33 MHz C14 if you want. So it's a very nice kit. Yes, many people say, Michael, I need to test this CPU because it's slightly better than the previous one, but in RAID, the latest generation of APU was struggling a bit. And in Legion was fine, because in Legion I was riding with this APU perfectly fine. But now in BFA, the ride is start to get a bit too heavy on the GPU, and I had to lower the resolution at 720p, which was a bit, not so good. But again, you can find something used like this in a second time, and then you can do the upgrade. We can check the difference later. So now we have one stick. Okay. I can show you this card. This is a Strix OC RX 2700. I think now is for 130, 120, and you can really find some good deals in the used market. And for World of Warcraft, this GPU is blocking, especially with DirectX 12. So we are now World of Warcraft, same thing. So fair in the shadow and liquid. Quality 5. It's like a quality 5 tweaked with shadow and liquid detail to fair. And we have 35 FPS. So we have half the memory stick, half the performance. So the drop is like huge. So if you think to take an APU, don't even try to put only one stick. It's not worth it, and it's not because of the memory, but because of the scene and the bandwidth. So now I can show you an 8 GB kit, so 4 plus 4, that there's basically no change from 16 to 8 GB, because if you keep Chrome in the background, like 16 tab of Chrome, your system will die, but it will die anyway. So if you have a budget system, don't open Chrome and full your memory. So we see here we have a 50% drop, more or less, even more. And you cannot even walk. I mean, I can walk, I can do some, but if you go in a fight like this, you got like 15 FPS or even lower. So something absolutely not to do. Tomb Raider again. Yes, overdose of Chrome. The same FF drops with a GPU? No, I don't think so. I mean, not the 50% drop with a GPU, because the dedicated GPU have their own memory, so it's not that affected, but is affected. We can try that in a minute, so we will see that. You have a drop. So it's always better to use a cheaper 4 GB kit, but in dual channel. Yes, I think we are good with the schedule, so we can test everything. Okay, we are now at 21 FPS, 20 FPS. So it's not a 50% frame drop, but we're getting close, because now 19, 20, if you are 30, 25, you can stand it, but I don't need too much the FPS to spike, but playing with 20, 19 I don't like it. I cannot even, walk properly, especially now with water and effects. 19 is too low. I don't know if you can see because of the compression, but as well there's a lot of stuttering, and it's not something that is very good to play. Anyway, so we saw the effect of a single channel kit in an APU, which is really bad. Now I'm going to put the small kit. So I have two kits, in fact, which they are more or less the same. We have a Predator 3 GHz, so 3000 MHz C15, which is the one that I recommend because I think you have the Hynix A, and this one is a 3200 MHz C16, and sometimes you can find it for cheaper, but this one is really hard to make it work on Zen and Zen Plus because it's not compatible. So if you are lucky, you have to put it in the second profile, so C 300 C15, and sometimes it's unstable, so it's not worth it. Even if it's rated 3200, it's difficult to set it at 3200. This one instead is rated at 300 MHz, 3000 MHz, sorry, and I actually was able to overclock this one to 3200 C14. So this is a cheap kit, it's like 70 now, 65, 70, and you can overclock it and have similar performance to a BDI kit, because the BDI honestly is a bit overkill. But if you can find it for cheap, or maybe you buy that kit because you're going to build your system step by step, and if you want a nice memory kit for the beginning, it's a good investment. Also because a BDI kit, you can always sell it for good money because it's the best. Okay, I think it will not boot, my mistake, because now there's the BDI settings and it's not going to boot. Impossible. Let's see, maybe. Let's see if we have a miracle. 3400 C14. No, usually with this board, if you push the power button for 10 seconds and something is wrong in the BIOS, it should reset and boot at default. So we can change the memory later. Another test we can do is at default speed. So the memory at 2400 MHz, I think C16, C17. So at default, to see the 20, okay, it boots, but now I think we have stupid memory speed. And the 3600 and RX 570, see, looks like a nice streaming setup. Okay, let's do it now. So now we have this kit, which is a 3000 MHz kit, but now is a 2400 MHz kit C17, so not so nice. Let's see the performance of this. So G-Skill 3200 C16 probably is like a Hynix A, Hynix M. It's not bad, but you need to tune it carefully. Well, probably with the Zen 2, you don't have to struggle to set it. But with that kit, probably you should check Ryzen DRAM calculator and find a good balance between tight timings and frequency. So now we have 2400 MHz RAM clock, CAS 17. So it's kind of slow. This is a slow memory settings, but we are at 25 FPS. Even with, you know, a not decent memory speed, but in dual channel, 8 GB kit, so 2 stick of 4 GB each, and we are at 24 FPS. So even with one of the cheapest kit you can buy, is way better than single channel. 23, 24 is not 19. I mean, now we are not talking about 100 and 110. Now every FPS count. So now we are 30 FPS, 28. And when you are between 20 and 30, the difference is big, because you play something like smooth and something that you cannot play at all. But now let's do some quick World of Warcraft, and then we can set this kit with the rated speed profile. Okay. State Boralus. And now we have 53, 50 FPS, 55. So it's not the 30 of the single stick. It's not the 70 of the 3200. So here's the thing. With the proper timings in dual channel, here we was at 75 FPS and now we have 50. So from 2400 MHz to 3400 MHz, there's like 50% of improvement. It's a lot. So between the two frequency, the two memory frequency, we have 50% in performance. Because some people blame the APU. No, don't buy an APU, it doesn't work. Of course, if you're going to put slow memory or single channel memory, it's not going to work. But if you set it correctly, it just do the job. So now I go into the BIOS, I set 3200 MHz, and you will see the difference between this one and the BDI, which is not too much. So $95 CPU, like 70 now or 60 I think. You can forget for 55 or 60 this kit, plus a cheap motherboard. This one is a mini ATX, is expensive, but decent motherboard you can find it for 60 or 70, and we are at 200 and something. You put a cheap case, you don't need the cooler because it's inside the CPU, and with $300, 3500, you have a system that you can use to play eSport game, World of Warcraft, a bit of everything. So memory settings. Okay, we have the two profile, 3200 MHz. Okay, so I put the wrong kit. Let's see, I think with the new BIOS is going to work. So 3200 MHz, C16. And well, let's see with these XMP profiles. You can push it further. With Ryzen DRAM calculator, you can push this kit 3200, I think was like C14, 16, something like this. It wasn't too bad though, at the end. So you don't have to do anything. Any reason why there are no CPU at the higher end with higher end APU? You mean like a 3600X with the integrated GPU? I don't know. I don't think. I think they're going. They did it to cut the cost. Probably is for the price. And if you are buying a $200 CPU, probably you can invest in a GPU. Probably because the two products cannot coexist. Well, I think for World of Warcraft, a 3600 with some decent integrated GPU would be nice, but I think it would be the 4200G, the 7 nanometers CPU with probably a Navi integrated GPU, and that I think will be a very killer CPU for World of Warcraft, because even with 4 core you can play. And if you are on a budget and you have a Zen 2, so 7 nanometer CPU, I think it will be pretty amazing. So, Tomb Raider again. Yes, it's good to have an APU just in case, you know. You have to change your CPU, or you sell your CPU, you put an APU and you wait for a bigger CPU. And something that I didn't tell you before, but I have a power meter here, so I can tell you the consumption, which is very important. The idle is like 30 watts, and now we are 85 of the entire system. Then we are going to overclock as well this CPU. So we have now 32 FPS, 33, and the entire system is pulling 99 watts. So we have 100 watts in gaming. Now 105, well, it's going from 95 to 105. 30 FPS in gaming and 100 watts. Impressive. Yes, from playing at work, why not? Now you see the frame dropped to 26, but it's okay, and we are on a 8 gigabyte kit, so 4 gigabyte, 2 stick, 3200 MHz C16, and we have 30 FPS more or less, so not too far from the B-die. There's difference, but with the latest BIOS they've improved the latency, and now when you have 3200 MHz C something, you can play. You check the FPS. We have 32 FPS. It's playable. So this is very nice. Let's go back to World of Warcraft. Yes, I would really want to see an APU made with Navi. That would be truly impressive, because as we saw with the 3600X, the 7 nanometers are very impressive CPU. Of course, you cannot play games like Battlefield, because it's very intense. We have to put everything on low and it doesn't really make sense. But if you're into indie, free to play, World of Warcraft, I think it's going to be a success. But we have to wait 1 year. So. The 3900X is on his way, I think, He's on hold. I'm waiting that CPU, but probably I will not be able to have it for another 2 weeks or something like that. Okay, so Moralos, 55 FPS. So now in World of Warcraft there's a difference between the 3200 Tomb Raider. The difference was really low, like 1 or 2 FPS between the B-Die kit and this one, and here we have 10 FPS. So from 75 we dropped to 72. So you have 13 FPS difference mainly, and we are below 60 FPS. So in this case, when you have a GPU and a very important single core work to do, the B-Die with the lower timings really make the difference. So we have 60, 70 now. So in this case you see the difference, but we can overclock this memory kit. Unfortunately, I upgraded the BIOS and I don't have a good profile here. Otherwise, I could have shown you the this memory kit, this chip memory kit with a better profile, but it takes too much time now, and I want to show you as well the Radeon 5700 XT. So we saw that. And now, what I'm going to do, well, we have the other kit that is a 16 gigabyte kit around at $100 now, 110, and is a 3200 MHz C, what is it? C18. Is very similar to this one, but it's a 60 gigabyte kit. So you have like $60 kit with nice performance, $100 kit, 16 gigabyte, and well, the B-Die that now a kit of Flare X or similar can be found for 130, 140. So I think it's worth the extra money, especially if you play World of Warcraft or like Dota. Yes, Counter-Strike as well. It really benefit from timings. So now I'm going to put back the B-Die kit and the Radeon RX 570, so you can see this CPU with a decent GPU, how I can do it. Radeon 7, yes, is a good card, but I think too expensive, especially now with this one, the 5700 is a very nice board, especially because it's not too pricey and you can overclock it a bit. Okay, now we have our graphics card installed, the RX 570, the Strix or C. Nice card. I think you can find a Sapphire or something like this for 130, 140. Probably I think this one is the best Full HD card that you can find right now. Price performance. If you don't play at a high frame rate, it's a killer GPU. And I think if you have a FreeSync monitor at 75 Hz, 100 Hz, probably it will do. Yes, I'm going to do the power plant registry. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So we do the test with this 3200G and the dedicated GPU, and then we go back to the big one. I can show you the 3700X and the Navi. If only this thing is going to boot. Yes, I saw as well the performance can be pushed a lot, but in my case I did some testing today and the temperature limit was really kicking and I got some crashes as well. Wasn't very stable, but you will see that in a minute. We are going to crash a lot, I think, because the blower is nice, but when you start overclocking it, it gets really hot and noisy. Yes, I'm going to probably the day after tomorrow I should have a 9900K that can run at 7 gigahertz, of course with liquid nitrogen, and I will use the, I don't know if the Asus or the AVGA with the 9900K at 7 gigahertz and the 5700 XT cooled with liquid nitrogen. So CPU and GPU with liquid nitrogen, and we can try to push some nice score in Undervolt. So it will be a 7 gigahertz or 7.1 gigahertz and the GPU on liquid nitrogen, both. Copyright protected, yes, and I have like my screen is violet now. I'm going to fix it. Give me a second, because every time I put an AMD graphics card with a new driver in the acquisition card, I have to disable the what is called HDCP support. Okay, so yes, I'm going to restart the system now and I can read the chat. So in the meantime, let's see if I can show you something cool. So in a couple of days I'm going to use this. This is a LN2 GPU cooler from Kingpin, the last one, the Icon 9. So we are going to put the CPU on liquid nitrogen, the GPU on liquid nitrogen, and we can try to set some score. I don't think we need very low temperature, but I don't want to put water cooling, ice bucket. I'm not that kind. I think go big or go home, straight to liquid nitrogen. So okay, memory frequency, I have the profile saved. This one. Alright, now we can, I think I missed the overclocking part, but well, we try that this system with the GPU, and then we take the GPU off again, and I try to overclock the CPU and the integrated GPU. The off, that is perfect for the off. I think tomorrow I'm going to receive the new GPU, the new CPU. So tomorrow probably I will test it here, and I think I have 10 liters of liquid nitrogen left, so I'm going to finish the liquid nitrogen tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, which is Friday, I'm going to get 30 liters of liquid nitrogen if I don't have any issue tomorrow. So tomorrow I do a first try. If everything works, Friday I do a live stream with LN2 and we can push some numbers. So this is the plan. But sometimes, you know, especially when you do extreme overclocking, something is not right and you have to test it again, and I have only a couple of hours per night. So sometimes I need more day to set up the system, especially when you need to push 7 gigahertz. But if I can do it Friday, we do a live stream. If it's not Friday, maybe it's Saturday or Sunday. We have to wait a bit. Okay, we have a boot. I can take this out. Okay, so now we have the RX 570, the Ryzen 3600G, in this case only for the CPU part, which by the way is boosting 4 GHz, which is nice. So I don't think we are going to get too much if we overclock the CPU, because it's already at 4 GHz. I was able to push it to 4.2 GHz, but with really high voltage, and the gain is not that much. I think you have to reset everything. It didn't take the profile. I don't know why, honestly. Okay, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to sell. I get attached to the board and the thing I have. I have like probably 30 motherboard or 40 from 2001 to now. So I collect everything. I'm a collector. I don't sell anything. Okay, we have an issue. This is the good thing when you do a live. You prepare everything before, like yesterday, and then during the live, nothing works. Yes, the MMX. I had one, and I think, yes, it was probably 233, and I think I overclocked it. I think it was the Celeron, so one that was like a 200 megahertz, and you can overclock it to 500, something like this. And I think that was probably the first time I tried to put a water block in a CPU. Everything was handmade. I used the aquarium pump. I think it was for the garden, or an aquarium pump. At the time there wasn't commercial. It was nice. Here I have like a box with 150 DDR1 sticks. So it's a box like this, full of memory stick. And I have like 30 Athlon XP. I think I'm going to do another kit. Sorry guys. Let's hope to boot. So we have now the test with the dedicated GPU, and then I can try the dedicated GPU with only one memory stick. See the difference? And then I take out the GPU and I try to overclock this APU. So 4.1, 4.2 GHz CPU and 1600 MHz the GPU, which I tried yesterday, and is more or less stable at 1600 from, I don't know what it is now. Anyway, let's see the memory. New profile. Safe voltage for BDI. Well, you can push a BDI for daily at 1.6 without any issue. 1.5, 1.6. Okay. This thing really doesn't want to work tonight. So since I don't want to stay too much in troubleshooting, I think I just lower the memory a bit, or I use another kit, so we can see the difference. Maybe I can try the other kit. This one, the HyperX Fury 3200 MHz C18. This kit is nice for one simple reason. This kit is a 1.2 volts. So this kit, the other kit usually run at 1.35 or something like this. This run at 1.2. So this will literally work on every Ryzen motherboard because it's low voltage, high timings, and it's not too bad performance-wise. It's cheap, and you don't have any compatibility problem with any board. So in every board I tried, it just worked. So if you're looking for a budget system, this might be a good option. I need a 3200 MHz, so if you are in 1.1, 3800 MHz C15 is fine, or you can push CL14 or even CL16, because I saw that there's no big difference between CL16 and CL14 with the Zen 2, and you need a lot of volt for basically nothing. So if you can push the how is it called, the Infinity Fabric to 3800, so 1900 megahertz the fabric and 3800 megahertz the memory, with 1.4 volts C16 is more than enough. So 1900 yes, and 3800 the memory, probably you can do it to 1.35, 1.4, and there's no need to push too much the volt to have a C14 that is useless. Let's see if we have the memory already set. More or less. I have to reboot. Okay, so here again, XMP profile, we have two. Okay, we use the first profile, 3200 megahertz, C18 in this case, but 1.2 volt, and we set to turbo. so we can overclock it later. Yes, we are more or less in time. So as you saw, I just set the XMP profile and the load line calibration, and I booted. Okay. Okay, 3200 MHz C18. So I'm gonna show you this one with World of Warcraft and the dedicated graphics card. Let's see how the CPU is doing, because we are going to be really bottlenecked by the CPU. The GPU is more than enough. Okay, well, 84 FPS. Now we can push everything maxed out. So 1080p, quality 10, and we have, well, 54 FPS, because you see the core number 4 is at 90%. So at 4 GHz almost, 3900 MHz and 50. So we're really pushing the CPU to the limit. $60 FPS, but again, quality 10. Now, in this case, when you have an issue that the frame rate is low, usually viewing distance to 6 will help a lot. Let's see if this one is the case. No, I think we have something else. I think I'm going to try to make a video about how to set the graphics settings in WoW, because sometimes, now you see, if you reduce this one, the environment is something that is more CPU related. So if you lower down that a bit, okay, you cannot see far as before, but we are playing quality 10 at 70 FPS. Yes, liquid detail is more on the CPU, on the GPU, because now we are 60, and if I lower, we didn't gain anything. Basically, we had 3 FPS for the liquid, because it's more on the GPU. And now what is suffering? See the clock, the core number 4 is the GPU, is the CPU. So if we set everything maximum, except this, the environment, let's say quality 5, we have about 70 FPS. So okay, we have a decent quality 10 setup with a $95 CPU. And in RAID is just going to perform very nice, because the RAID now in BFA is most on the GPU. So if you have a GPU like this, for 130, 140, you can play 1080p quality 10 with some little adjustment. Let's see Tomb Raider. Samsung BDI, consider the Samsung BDI, more or less they have the same chip, the same spec for every Trident, for example, and some are being the 3200 MHz C14, the Flare X, and some are being 4800 MHz, but many is the same chip. And in the high bin chip, the fault voltage is at 1.5, So if they put 1.5, you can really push 1.6 without worrying too much. No, the AMC is the same because they took the 12 nanometers core with the integrated memory controller of that 12 nanometer core with the Vega GPU. In this case, the Vega 9, Vega 8. But no, the IMC is not the new one. So the memory, tweaking the memory of this APU is like tweaking the memory of a Zen Plus. Okay, we have 120 FPS at medium, which is nice. Even if this title is very CPU dependent, check the CPU now. We are 97, 98, so the CPU is really at the limit, but the GPU as well is at 98%. So if I'm going to change the graphics option to, let's push it very high. Okay, very high. Option, graphic very high. There's something like apply and where is it? Okay, back. So now I'm in very high, I think, yes. Okay, yes. Very high preset. So everything maxed out. 72 FPS, 75. So nice for a $90 CPU. Now of course we have the GPU that is limiting, but we can still have with like a $95 CPU, 130 GPU, and we can play 1080p maxed out at 80 FPS. So I think is another win for the small one. It can handle a AAA game without struggling too much. Okay, this is not Battlefield, but it's something that is to be taken in consideration. So everything maxed out, because now I'm going to try with only one stick of memory. So in this area we have like 80 FPS, 85. Let's see with only one stick if it changes too much, but I don't think so. The newest, this APU, even if it's I don't know if they, yes, second gen processor, okay, second generation, yes, second generation. This one is third generation. So if you look in the box, this is called third generation CPU, so Zen 2, and this one is second generation. So well, even AMD admit that they are using a old generation, like an old technology. All right, last test before we go to OC, and then we check the Navi. So I'm going to try only one stick now. So I just remove one stick of memory. So we have 8 GB, 3200 C18. Yes, C18. So now we are 3200 MHz C18, one stick, 8 GB. Of course, dedicated graphics card, the RX 570. Let's see Tomb Raider. I'm almost sure that probably we have a drop in World of Warcraft, and in Tomb Raider not so much, because it's very intensive on the GPU and the memory doesn't really make a difference, but we will see. Yeah, it's slow, but this is Micron C, and honestly, even if it seems slow, it's not that slow. I mean, C18 seems like, oh, this is like abnormally slow, but at the end it's not too bad, especially because I think you can find this kit for 90 or 100, and it's very cheap, or even less. I think now. I think they dropped the price. Because if I had to choose a memory kit, I will go with the Flare X. You can find the Flare X now for $130, 140, or like €140, and it's one of the best B die you can find. So, I mean, 20 or I don't care about $20 or $30 euro. There's people who does, but if you have $30 euro more, don't spend it on RGB and spend it on a good memory kit. This is, I think, the best advice you can have. So, no, we didn't lose anything. Actually, it's cool because we are using now 5 GB of memory to play the game. So we didn't lose much, probably almost nothing. In this point, we had like 80 to 85. Yes, the stream of today is more like, is less extreme overclocking and more like daily overclocking, because it's less niche, and I think there's a lot to say. There's a lot of mistake that people do, and they trash money for nothing. So we have 80-85 PS. So basically only one stick, slow memory we can call it, no difference. So in this case, single channel doesn't really means a lot. I mean, AAA game which is mostly GPU bound. Okay, out. And now World of Warcraft, and then we can do some daily overclocking with the integrated GPU. The Navi, yes, I can test the Navi, but no, I don't think I can, because it's too big. It's too big for this small chassis. The Navi is like this one. Yeah, probably I could, but I think I have to dismount a bit the chassis, and it's going to be difficult now. And I think there's no point to put a 5700 XT on this kind of system. Well, maybe you can do it, but I see like a very unusual choice. Because if you put like a $400 card in a $300 system, well, you can do it, but it doesn't really make too much sense. So we are single channel World of Warcraft, quality 10 almost, except for viewing distance, environment detail, and ground clutter at 5. So everything maxed out, but a bit light for the CPU. 62. Do you remember how was the FPS before with dual channel? I think it was something like 70. Yes, it was like 75, something like this. So we have lost something, probably, but not too much. Yes, we lost, I think it was at 70. We lost 5 to 10 FPS. but again, we are 3200 megahertz, so yes. A good test would be going into a RAID and check the 1% low or 0.1% low, because I'm sure that with a single channel in that specific situation is where you see the difference. So anyway, even with 1 stick of memory, this CPU is doing good. I thought was worst, but well, there's no point going single channel anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to put the V drive again and without the GPU, and we overclock a bit for daily settings this APU so we can see how far it can go. Because I think we can push from, I think it was like 1.1 gigahertz the GPU. We can push it to 1600. A good thing about the mini ITX build is the mini ITX motherboard have only 2 memory slots, and especially with Ryzen and Ryzen Plus, 2 memory slot means that they can accept higher frequency. So this is something that I like about the small mini ITX build, because usually they can be overclocked, and even if they are small, you can push some interesting numbers out of it. Navi I think is cool. Probably the best thing about Navi will be the new dedicated mid-range GPU. I think they will call it 5600, something like that. Probably like something like $200 GPU. That will probably be very nice for 1080p or even 1440p, like not maxed out, but this 5700 XT is almost a 4K graphics card, so for $400, I mean, before Navi there was the Vega, and which wasn't really nice because it's big and bulky. I have one there, Vega 64, and it was very power hungry because it was like with the 9900K playing World of Warcraft in 4K, I was hitting like 380 watts, and the RTX 2080 it was like 300 watts, so it was really power hungry. Alright, so to overclock this thing we use Ryzen Master. In a budget build or in a daily build, I like Ryzen Master better than the BIOS, because if something goes wrong, the system just reset and you start at default. And when you set the profile, it's just a click away. I mean, I know that I can run with these settings. In this case I'm going to 4.1, and I just click apply and the system is overclocked. Everything goes wrong, it just reset, I boot into Windows without any issue, and then I start the overclock again. So honestly, with system like this, especially if someone is not too expert, it's better to do the overclock in Windows. messing too much with the BIOS, and then maybe you don't know how to reset it, put out the battery, push a button, do something, can get a bit nasty. So now we have the CPU overclocked at 4.1 GHz. .375 volts should be enough. Okay, and then we can overclock a bit the GPU. I was able to have 160 MHz, which is a lot. Let's see how this affects performance. Okay, so we have 4.1 GHz the CPU, and now the GPU is probably is not showing that too much. I'm going to push a bit the voltage just to be sure. 1.175. Let's see if we can play or if we crash like this. Because I tested it briefly yesterday, and at 1.6 GHz the GPU was doing pretty much fine. I think now we have the high settings, so probably we will see 5 FPS. I forgot to put the GPU clock, so you can see here in after the burner we have 1600 MHz GPU clock, but now I want the clock as well here. Core clock. Okay. Vega, here we are. So clock, GPU clock. Yes, then okay. Okay, we have the clock down here. We have a 1.6 GHz GPU clock. So 4.1 GHz the GPU, the CPU, and 1.6 GHz the GPU. So it's a big gain in terms of frequency. Let's see, push to the limit for a daily, this system what can do, 28, 26, of course, but you know, we are 26 FPS, but not at medium. I mean, I'm in very high, look at that, I'm in very high preset and 26 FPS. This is crazy. 24. Okay, let's go back to medium. So medium preset. Back. Now the GPU, the CPU, I hear the fan that is spinning a bit faster. And we are 35 FPS, 37. So nice. Overclocking the GPU and the CPU gave us what? 4 FPS, 3. Now we are above 30. FPS, 35, 36, 37, 28. So yes, we had a good 10% improvement, 42 FPS. This is impressive. And you saw, I just set the GPU and the CPU Ryzen Master 1 click. So 7 clicks, 10% of performance more. What do you say? I think it's pretty interesting. Alright, I think now it's time to wake up the big boy. Not Roberto. So there's something else you want to see with the APU, or we can go to the Navi. So quick recap. Single channel is very bad. If you put a discrete GPU with this CPU, you can play almost everything if the GPU can do it. And GPU and single channel is sorta okay, but don't do it anyway. And that's it, I think. For the APU, I think we saw enough. I'm going to test as well the 3400G. And probably with AAA game, even Battlefield, maybe we will have some gain. But GPU wise, if you have to use it with the integrated GPU, 3200G or 3400G, I don't think there will be much of a difference, because when overclocked, the GPU is roughly the same. It's still bottlenecked by the memory bandwidth. So, and one it costs like double. So, by consideration, like if you have to spend, I don't know, 200 for a GPU, for a CPU that have a GPU, I would rather spend a bit more and take this CPU with a discrete graphics card than the 3400G without a separate graphics card. So this is kind of my thought, because you have to spend $160 for something that do like 5 to 10% more than this at default. Then I can overclock this and match the performance for a CPU that costs double. I think it's not really worth it. But anyway. Okay, so I changed the cable and we do the Navi. Okay, now we have the big boy. Ryzen 2 3600X. The CPU, we can left it at default, because I tried again some performance test with the GPU overclocked or not, but the CPU doesn't really change too much, and the best thing to do is to overclock the memory. And in this case we have 3733 MHz C16. Again, from C16 to C14 with Zen 2, I didn't see much of improvement, but I had to raise the voltage a lot. So I think this is the sweet spot. Synchronous Infinity Fabric clock, so 8800 MHz and 63. So the run speed effective is 3733 C16, and I think I'm 1.35 volts, so I'm mostly at default with a good BDI kit, the Flare X in this case. So you take the Flare X and you can overclock it at 3700 C16 easily without touching the voltage. You just go into the first timing and you set the timing to C16 without touching anything, and you are pretty much at the break even before diminishing returns. Yes, QTA, this is the 3600X, and we have as well the RX 5700 XT 50th anniversary edition. So Yeah, they did some confusing name, Zen 2, Zen 3, Zen Plus. But anyway, it is what it is. So, now we are boosting 4.3, 4.4. Let's try Tomb Raider first. This is going to get interesting. Because this is a GPU that is sold for 400. And, I mean, it's almost a 4K GPU. I'm not going to test it, but something went wrong. Why? Driver issue, maybe. Okay, let's try Shadow of the Tomb Raider, since Rise of the Tomb Raider doesn't want to work. Okay, so you need high FPS in WoW. Well, it seems that with this CPU you can have high FPS in WoW, and now I show you. I show you a bit this AAA game with Navi, and then we go back in World of Warcraft, and you can see how this, especially this combo, the 5700 XT and the 3600X, how well it's doing in World of Warcraft. I think I didn't play too much this one. I think I'm the first checkpoint, or the second. I forgot to put the on-screen display. I don't know if you can see the fan, but it's getting noisy. If you need FPS in World of Warcraft, no, don't go with this 12 nanometers APU. If you want high FPS in World of Warcraft, Intel or the new Zen 2, which is very good. Now I try to make the numbers bigger so you can see it better. If you see some background noise, it's the air conditioner, it's not the GPU. Okay, did you see the number correctly, or want me to put it a bit bigger, like this? Okay, like this. So, we are at display driver. Preset is the highest, so everything maxed out. Okay, everything maxed out. The resolution is 1440p maxed out, okay? And we are at 100 FPS. I mean, it's really impressive. 100 FPS at 1440p, detailed, maxed out. 70 degrees, I think you are going to hit 75 degrees if you play a lot. The boost clock is 1.9 gigahertz, so 1900 megahertz. I mean, this level of performance is high. We are really like the 2070 Super. This is the 5700 XT, yes. So 88 FPS, 90 FPS, 1440p, everything maxed out. And this version of Tomb Raider is very heavy on the GPU. Well, the CPU is not doing much. Don't do base clock overclocking. Base clock overclocking doesn't work. The frequency spikes higher, but you lose efficiency and the boost is sustained for less time. So you will see higher spike but less performance. Usually 3-4% less than default if you do base clock or C. So it's not an overclock at all. Yes, it messed everything. If you want to overclock this CPU, auto overclocking option, Ryzen Master, OK, and focus on the memory. So, let's see how it performs at 4K. Because at this point, to me, it's more a 4K card. So, everything maxed out, 4K resolution. Okay, maybe 4K, everything maxed out is too much. So, but anyway, 47 FPS in 4K, everything maxed out. It's not bad. And game like this, where there's a lot of blurry effects, I honestly can't understand if it's 45, 70, 80 FPS. Okay, so let's try with the high profile. Visually is more or less the same, but we have 62 FPS. So usually if I play without recording, I use FreeSync and VSync as AMD recommend. So VSync, FreeSync, 60 FPS. I can play at high detail, not very high, high detail, and have probably a constant 6 FPS. And when you fix the FPS, you have less heat generation, you have less heat and less noise. So if you have a 60 Hz monitor, why running at 100? It doesn't make sense. Let's see in the chat. Yes, this game is pretty heavy, and I mean this GPU can compete with the higher end of Nvidia, so nice. So now we can do World of Warcraft. So what do you say about this GPU? How do you think it is, for if you take in consideration the price? What do you mean, price performance? Are you happy about that? No, the CPU at 50 degrees is with a custom loop. I have a full custom loop, 3 fan radiator, EK fan, Noctua fans is a nice loop. AMD can be beaten through. In fact, I really think that performance price is amazing. Now we are in World of Warcraft, 4K, everything maxed out. So 3600X, 5700 XT, Anniversary Edition, World of Warcraft, everything maxed out. And we are at 82 FPS. Very smooth. So probably this combo for World of Warcraft is probably the best. And now I don't have time to do dungeon and raid. We can do Boralus. But what else to say? 80 FPS in 4K. I mean, is impressive for a $400 card. The 2080, which cost double, we are very similar. So probably you can hit 100 or 90. But if you are in 4K, if you are playing in 4K, you don't need much more than 60. Or probably you do if you have the super display from Asus, the 4K 144, but you can buy a TI, 2080 Ti in this case. So let's see at 1440p. Yes, I think the CPU, if you want to overclock it now, I'm going to use the power profile, but it gets hot, because check now, and we are 82 degrees. If I put my hands here, it's too hot. I mean, I can hurt my hands, and as well there's like a sign, a sticker with the sign that's like danger is too hot, because it is too hot. If I touch the back plate where there's the core, I literally burn myself. So this gets very hot. So now we are at Boralus, 1440p, everything maxed out, 90 FPS. You remember that if you were here, I don't know if it was the first live or the second, when I tried this World of Warcraft with this CPU, we had the 2080, the RTX 2080, and honestly we have more or less the same FPS. So we are 92 FPS in this stupid bot. What can you say? It's nice. Now this weekend I'm going to do some ride. I don't know, maybe I can try to stream it on Twitch, because I don't want to put too much live here, but maybe I try it. If I can set up Twitch finally, maybe I do all the testing in Twitch. So usually when I test a CPU or GPU, I do for every settings 3 times the benchmark, and I do the average. If there's something that doesn't really convince me, I do a 4th time. So I had to play a lot, so I can test the components very well. Let's try the power profile now. Okay, so I downloaded the profile. Can you see the profile here? Or do you want me to put the resolution of the screen bigger? Let's try this. Okay. Here we have the profile that Tom's Hardware DE, so Germany, they made. So the profile is more power, even more power, even more power plus, even more power plus plus, and so on and so forth. So what the profile do, basically change the registry and modify some part of the BIOS, and you can unlock the potential of the GPU. When you load, you have to clean everything with drivers removal, and when everything is cleaned, you install the driver, and then you have this profile on the desktop. So what I can do now is to set, I can set even the biggest profile. It doesn't automatically overclock the CPU, it just moves the limit away. And then you have to overclock it manually with Radeon Settings, or in this case I'm using MSI Afterburner, but it's the same. I mean, 3600X 9900K for WoW. Oh, thank you, Nori. Thanks a lot. I think we are almost there. Snowflake. Say to donate. Hi Slacker. Hi. And hi Snowflake. So we're talking about, yes, 3600X 9900K. In World of Warcraft, from the test I saw, well, I did raid, dungeon, everything, but I have to test it more carefully. But I didn't see much difference. And honestly, if I have to choose between the two, the Ryzen, because you have like half the price for something that delivers the same performance or even slightly better. We have to see in the raid. But yes, honestly, the Ryzen 2 now in World of Warcraft is really completely changed the world of building the perfect PC for World of Warcraft. Until I think it was like 10 years, my mind was like Intel, Nvidia. When we had the 8.1 and the DirectX 12, AMD GPU kind of gained a bit, and it was like Intel, AMD until now. And now I think I'm AMD. If I have to suggest a build for World of Warcraft, AMD. So okay, let's overclock it. So now I'm going to use the even more power plus. So basically, when you click the profile, you just change the registry. Are you sure to continue? Yes. Okay. Okay, and now I can change the power limit up to 70%. The original I think was like 50, and then I can change the maximum boost clock. The issue I found that now I can unlock the system, but when you unlock the GPU, you have to cool it down. I think okay, is the 5700 XT as fast as the 27 Super? I think probably we are more or less there. One thing that really brings down this GPU is the cooler, because it gets really hot. And now I can try to overclock it, but honestly I think we are going to crash many times, because it cannot you cannot overclock the CPU because it's already at this thermal limit. So we try to push the power limit to 7% more. We don't touch the memory, and I push the core frequency to 2100. I click OK, and I start Shadow the Tomb Raider. I tried today sometimes, and I crashed a lot. Because I think the CPU get too hot, and when you are already at 80 degrees, at a certain point the silicon start doing weird things and you crash. Probably this profile, and of course as they stated as well in Tom's Hardware DE, this profile is for liquid cooling or something better than the stock cooler. I tried as well to force the stock cooler at 100%, and it gets really noisy, but it gets hot. I mean, the boost now is a bit better, because before we was boosting 1900 megahertz, something like this, and now we are at 2041, 2030. The fan now is in automatic, so you will see the fan is at 40% or something like this. What thing we can try is to set the fan manually 100%. It's noisy. It's very noisy. And as you can see, with the fan at 100%, it's kind of stupid noisy, but check the temp, we are 78, 79. Yeah, it's jet engine. It's very noisy. Okay, I'm in an open bench, but it's kind of too much. It's very noisy. It worked, because check the temperature in the top left corner. We are 77, 78, and we are boosting to 2050 megahertz. I think we are in 4K. High settings. Okay, 4K is too much. 1440p. Okay, 1440p. Yes. Highest. Okay. This should be more. Okay. So we are 95 FPS. If you saw the test before at this resolution and these settings, we was like 100 or something like this. So there's not a big improvement. So we have more core clock, probably more sustained, but I don't see much of a gain. I think I can try to boost a bit the clock, but probably we are going to crash. I'm from Italy, but now I'm living in Spain. Let's try 2150. So now we are boosting a bit better, I think, but probably we are still too high in temp to be able to unlock that. Oh, hey Anthony. So yes, now that we are boosting a bit better, let's push it for more. 2200. But even if oh yes, now we are boosting better, and now we are FPS increase. We gain 10 FPS. So nice. We gained something. Let's try to push a bit more, but keep in mind that the jet fan behind my back. I think this card is good to be water cooled. Let's try straight to the limit. 2300 megahertz. Let's see if we crash or not. I think we crashed. Kaboom. Okay. Exploded. Okay, now I'm going to try the fan. So, okay, well, only the game crashed. So I thought it was worst. And let's start again at 2200. And I try now with 80% fan. Let's see if you can do it. It's noisy. 80% is noisy. So let's say 70. Yes, now I'm going to push the better profile. Okay, this one. This is the highest profile. But it doesn't really change a lot, it just changes the maximum voltage. So 70% fan is still noisy. %, still noisy. I don't have an I/O to put on a graphics card, but I have liquid nitrogen, so in a couple of days I will pull this card directly with liquid nitrogen. I don't want to mess a lot with water, and I prefer to go big. %, and to my ear is still noisy, so basically you have to turn it off. Come on, this is ridiculous. It's still noisy. We are 40%, and it's noisy, noisy-ish. Let's see, 30%. So and so. 25%. Okay, now it's not noisy. So basically, when you push the fan at 50% or something like this, is already noisy. Now what can I do now is turn off the air conditioning. So I turned off the AC unit. Okay, silence. Now I'm at 25%. Listen. And now I'm going to try from 25% to 50%. Now 50%. Listen. This is 50%. Now 75. 75%. And finally 100%. Well, I have a dB meter, so let's see. Check this. $62 dB is a lot. Is at this distance, which is like 60 centimeters, 62 dB is a lot. I have a cascade phase change cooler down there. We can do like 65, and I mean it's too much. Let's see at 75. It doesn't really slow down, so probably this thing is... the car now is frozen, but it's cold. But the fan doesn't want to change. What's happening? I think from 100%, the card slow down very slowly. Yes, probably have to reboot. Okay, I try to reboot. And then let's see how many percentage of the fan we need to get, like 40 dB if okay, oh, silence finally. And let's see, 50%, 75%, and well, 100% and 62 dB, I mean, is loud. I mean, is really loud. Keep in mind that every 6 to 10 dB the sound is perceived at twice. So if I go from 40 dB to 46 dB, the sound perceived is twice. So from 46 to 52 is twice again. 52, 58, twice the sound. 58, 60, well, you know it works. Okay, let's set the fan at 50%. Okay, at 50% we have 49 dB, which is okay. I mean, if you consider that you put this card inside a chassis, a good one can be okay. I mean, not ideal, but if you are playing, if you have a headset or something, it's fine. Let's see at 40%. So 40%, we have 44 dB. Now it can be considered quiet. So 40% is something that, I mean, acceptable. Let's say 40% is a good level. So now what can we do? We have the best profile. We can try 2250. %40 fan. Let's see if with the fan fixed at 40% keep the card cooled, at least to have a nice boost. If we don't crash, I'll try to raise a bit the fan and see how the fan will change the boost clock. Okay, definitely not going to work like this. Okay, I think I crashed. So let's raise the frequency step by step. you can hear the difference. This noise is the water pump. Yeah, I don't know if probably Afterburner doesn't work for the voltage, because I didn't see any voltage option in Afterburner, and but I think if we wasn't raise the voltage and we raise the voltage, we really need to push the fan too much. I think this is a nice card with water cooling. If you have to do like a custom build with a custom loop, you know, the rigid tubing and everything, probably this is going to be a nice card for that. So now I'm going to try again in game and change the fan to see if we keep the CPU cooled better. We have a sensible in, let's say, clock speed, boost speed. So we are now I didn't touch anything, so I have the better profile. Okay, I corrupted the file, fantastic. Okay. Okay, so we are boosting to 2 gigahertz more or less, 75 degrees. The fan is now at 43%. I will set it manually to like 60%. It's noisy, but probably in a good chassis with music, headset and everything, you won't notice too much difference. (1440p) and we set highest, just to have a reference with the previous benchmark. I mean 60% we are boosting, but I think it's too much, because probably if you don't have a proper ventilation inside the chassis, this is going to get very hot. Now let's try to raise a bit the fan. I think I can try to put 100% fan and see how far we can go. Sorry for the noise. Let's try 2250. No, okay. Doesn't want to. Yes, I think, well, the card is it ran hot, so I think the best way, if you want to overclock with the profile, the registry tweaks, is to keep it cool with the water cooling. Otherwise, I think if you don't want too much to tinker with those kind of things, the card is good. I mean, even at stock, the card is good. So honestly, I don't think they will be needed to do these tricks. You get the card hotter, you probably risk some crash, and the card is doing fine. At least I think is better to lower a bit the detail instead of pushing the clocks and risking crashes. So I don't know, at this point I think I showed you almost everything. There's something that you want to try? Undervolt test. Yes, we can try. So let me reboot the system and we can try the undervolt. I think in Wattman there's the setting to do that. Yeah, the Vega was decently fine with the undervolt. So maybe this one is efficient enough to be able to lower the volt a bit and not losing too much in performance, and put the fan fixed at 25% and have a silent card. Because honestly, idling is fine, but when you start gaming and if maybe you are in a hot room and you play for 2 hours, or you have the headset, or otherwise you're getting annoying. No, I don't have a 380 or 390X here. That could be interesting, maybe to find something on eBay, but I don't know, the card looks really nice. And using an old air cooler from another card looks a bit, I don't know, I don't feel right about that. Probably it's way better to have a Hynix A water block, which is looking very nice. But anyway, there was a discussion, I don't remember where, that if you have to put a custom cooler on this card, so you are like 400 for the card, 100, and then you step to a better card. Yes, for tests, yes, I can do that, but I don't have that cooler, and it's more expensive for me to do that than cool it with with the liquid nitrogen. But well, I can try to watch on eBay if I can find something like that. Why not? So global settings, Wattman, and here in theory we have auto undervolt. I don't know exactly how it works, but we can try. Okay, the auto undervolt minimum is 750. So already they claim only 1050, 1.1. Okay, so now is auto undervolted. We have what? It doesn't tell me. Let's try to game again. Any of you knows if using auto undervolt actually works? Because I didn't use too much this tool. Let's see. So everything now is at stock. I reset the power play profile, so now everything is at stock, and I auto undervolt the GPU with Radeon settings. Apparently, probably it's working, no? We were having 75 degrees, roughly. let's see if this Undervolt actually works. Now the fan is spinning a lot. Yeah, probably is less noisy now. Okay. Let's see in manual if we can do something. Okay, so here we can undervolt a bit. So in Reddit they told what? 1050. Let's put it to 1050. Okay, so now we have diminished a lot. Probably, okay. I think, okay, the game crashed. So 1050 millivolts, it doesn't do any good. So, okay, let's try it a bit more. Okay, let's try 1100 millivolt. Okay. Let's see if undervolting a bit we obtain a less noisy fan. One point two, you say? Well, let's see. At worst case scenario, we crashed again. I think stock is at 1.2, right? Maybe this works like the CPU, that with a bit of undervolting we can sustain the boost longer. Let's see. So we have 0.1 less. I don't see any big difference. So we have 1.1 instead of 1.2. But actually the card is boosting good. This is, I deselected the power pair profile. So this is a stock card, stock driver, stock registry, just undervolted by 0.1. Yeah, boost seems higher. I mean, more sustained. The FPS are roughly the same. 90, it was like 95, and in this area 95 to 105. So probably yes. We lost a bit, not too much, maybe 5 to 10 FPS. 78 degrees. Okay, so well, temps are bad, but the fan now is less noisy. So probably we have to check something in the fan curve here. Let's say I want the fan more aggressive, like 50% at what? 75? Let's try like this. So now at 75 degrees we should have 52% of the fan. Yes. Yes, the blower is cool, I mean aesthetically, because it's good to see, but to hear is a bit so and so. So, but now with the fan profile set to more aggressive, so at 70, what was that? At 75 degrees, we have 55%. And it seems working. The boost is fine. Check the FPS. Now we are having spike of 90s. We gain some FPS. We gain a bit of noise. But decent temps, yes. So probably yes. Undervolting the card from to 1.1 instead of 1.2, I think is a good option. Yes, inside the case probably going to be okay. Also because the blower blow out the hot air from the case. And if you have a nice intake, the pressure will help a bit. So yes, undervolting this card is actually a thing. And I will test, when I test this card, I'm going to do like stock and undervolted, so we can see in various games how the undervolting is doing, and at the same times with the meter I check the noise, so at least we can relate undervolt performance and noise level. So if we have an interesting noise reduction and similar performance in game, or even better, why not? Yes, the frequency, yes, is 9. Is boosting, I think, better than the game boost. They say this is the 5th anniversary edition, so the current test, Michael, is we have undervolted the GPU from 1.2 to 1.1 volt and set the fan profile a bit more aggressive. Then from 70 degrees to 75, there's a ramp up at 70%, no, 50%, sorry. We obtained a slightly better FPS. The fan is less noisy, and we have now decent temp at 70 degrees. Yes, the cooler is not great. I mean, because it's like a copper thin based cooler. A heat pipe will do better job for sure. So, but I think that this card inside the custom build PC with water cooling can really do great things. This is the 3700X with the GPU, yes. I mean, it's a good combo. If you look that we are highest graphic settings 1440p, and we are having 100 FPS more or less, 90 to 100 FPS in a AAA game that was launched in September, so very fresh for a $400 CPU. So we have a $400 GPU, 250 something CPU, so 650. So with 650 we have a capable GPU and a capable CPU at the price of an RTX 28. I mean, if you look the thing in that perspective, I think it's interesting, because if you take in consideration like an Intel, Nvidia, like a 9900K or even a 9700K and a 2080 or 2070 Super, we are more or less at $1,000. So value performance, this combo, so Ryzen 3600X and at 1700 XT, I mean, it's hard to beat. It's really hard to beat. The 3600 versus 3600X, I don't know, because probably next week I will have mine. From what I saw, is more or less the same because it overclocks roughly the same. But well, I have to test it because honestly, there's only few reviewers that I trust, and I didn't read too much because I'm really busy doing the test myself, and I want to test it with my hands. So the thing is, the 3700 non-X, I think, is equipped with a worst cooler, and if you take into consideration that 40 to 50 dollars or euro that change between 1 and 2, I will go with the 3600X because I don't really like a lot the non-X version. Otherwise, you have to manually overclock it, because if you do like rendering, if you do a lot of multi-threading stuff, it may be useful to overclock it manually. So set a manual overclock, and that it becomes more performant than an X version at default. But if you do gaming or casual rendering, something that is not 100% multi-threading, probably is better the X version. So you left the CPU, probably you just click the auto C thing in the Ryzen Master, and you clock the memory, you put a nice graphics card, and here it is. No, I don't have any coil whine. Let me close the game so I can hear it better. But I don't think I have a coil whine. I think I have to reboot. A coil whine is, I mean, it's bad luck. Let me check. No, zero coil whine. I think this is probably his bad luck, because there was like the 2070 I had one, and my 2080 as well. I have a bad coil one, but no, this one no. Probably if it's too annoying, you should RMA. Yes, the 3600 non-X, if you, I mean, if you don't miss completely the silicon lottery, probably will reach more or less the same frequency of the bigger brother, for like, yes, 40, 50, 60 euro difference. It depends. I mean, if you are a user that really doesn't really touch anything, probably the X version is the best choice. If you don't mind to overclock a bit, or you know how to do it, maybe the non-X version is as well a good CPU, because even if you can, if you don't reach 4.3 and you reach 4.2, 100 megahertz at the end, they are nothing. If you well tune the memory, you're done. I think you don't need that 100 megahertz to have like a 1 or 2 FPS in the games. So, and in rendering, what it will be, 1 minute of rendering less. If you tune the memory, is there you have the performance. Okay guys, so I think we covered everything that was in the agenda, and hope that I didn't miss anything. I'm start getting tired because it's almost 2 in the morning here, so it's 1:42 a.m. and I got a really heavy day today, and I would like to rest a bit. Tomorrow do a good session of testing, and I want to prepare the extreme overclocking if I can on Friday, so I can put that GPU on LN2 and the 9900K 7 GHz at the LN2. And we can try to set some score in Undervolt, and I don't know if someone want to beat that score way better. So, well, let me know in the chat if you want me to show you anything, or otherwise I'm going to cut the stream. Portugal, so we are neighbors almost. Andalusia here, so. Okay guys, I see no suggestion, so thank you for joining this this live session. That was more of a daily settings session. Next one will be very extreme, so 7 GHz or 7.1, 7.2 GHz CPU, GPU as well with extreme overclocking. So I try to mix a bit, some daily settings and some really more fun and extreme session. So just to do a bit of everything, and probably I will do a full World of Warcraft night. So I warned everybody before, so we can do a, if there's some World of Warcraft player, we can do a ride battlegrounds, because I had a lot of requests to see how the CPU performs in the battlegrounds. But I have to dedicate a night to World of Warcraft. Otherwise, other viewers will say, stop that World of Warcraft thing, show me something else. So I will warn everybody before. I recommend that, yes, I mean the 5700 XT is a 4K card in World of Warcraft. You can play, well, let me put it this way so you can see me bigger. So yes, I would recommend it because you can play in 4K, and probably if you set a frame limiter, like if you have a 60 Hz monitor and you set a frame limiter, it will not even be noisy, because it's a card that is very powerful. If you have like a 1440p display and you limit the card at 60 FPS, probably it will be quiet. So, hey Karamali, how are you? Yes, I did the mod of the GPU, and we saw some kind of improvement, but probably with that kind of BIOS we will have fun with LN2, because this card is getting hot and I want to take this card at I don't know, sub-zero or zero, something like this, to see if with the BIOS tweak, the registry tweak, and the more voltage, we can sustain 2.3 gigahertz of GPU clock, and with a nice CPU maybe we can do some interesting score. One thing that I really want to see, and I think meantime I reset this PC, I want to see if the PCI Express Gen 4 it give us some kind of improvement in the synthetic benchmark. This is something I really want to see with LN2. If we have some kind of a leverage versus NVIDIA using the PCI Express Gen 4. So you couldn't get above 80 FPS in Goldshire. What GPU are you using, Piercing? So you have the 5700X T. In the meantime, I show you something, because the other day we was talking about the generation of the PCI Express. So that's cool. I don't remember where was it. Okay, probably here. Okay, yes, we have apparently we have generation 4. Okay, piercing heaven. I think you. What is your memory settings? Where you are like 3700 C16 or something like that, because the memory really change a lot. So PCI Express 16, we have Gen 4. This is something I really want to see in synthetic benchmark, if Gen 4 with this card can change a lot, like 3D Mark, Flash Strike, something like this. So something that for the LN2 session I want to try. But okay, anyway. All right, so well, if you piercing heaven, if you want to share something in my Discord server, we can have a chat there. So everybody in this live, and if you want to join the Discord server, I don't think is in this video, but I'm going to stick it in the comment probably tomorrow, or you check on my older video, like the 2700X performance guide, and join my Discord server. We can have a chat about World of Warcraft, this test, or something that I may do in the next weeks. Yes, I have a Discord server because I like to keep this thing interactive. So I have a lot of ideas, maybe too much. So if I have a Discord server and we can discuss about something, I can do something that you may interesting to see, because I have literally almost everything from the early 2000s since now. So I can make a lot of content. I don't have too much time, but if I see something interesting that people want to see, we can set up a live, or as well I make a dedicated video. So all right, yeah, I'm getting pretty tired, so I'm going to say goodbye. And well, right, yes, now when I'm done with this Ryzen madness, I probably this weekend I start to do some a dedicated video about the new Ryzens in World of Warcraft, and the GPU as well, separate video. So well, you will see a lot of content with that. All right, so Karamali. But anyway, I think we can continue the discussion on Discord server. Good night, everybody, and thank you again for being here. See you soon, guys.